Hey guys, it's your boy Pasha. It is May 18th, 2019. So that makes 4 years, 10 months, a little less, a little more than 4 years, 10 months on T. Um, I'm making a video now. I haven't made one in quite some time. I think it's been like 6 or 7 months. It's just kind of an update video for the new people who have subscribed since I haven't been making videos, and for some old friends that are loyal subscribers. Um, we moved from Texas. We moved to Des Moines, Iowa. So I'm in Iowa now. There's been a lot of things that have happened in our lives that have changed since our move and before. My kids, most of them, if you know, I have a ton of kids. Three of them moved up here with us, my 19-year-old and the two younger ones. And everybody else, my daughter moved up with us a few months later, not with us, but a few months later, and she lives a couple blocks away. So that's good. Being in Iowa is very different than being in Texas. There is a lot, even though Iowa has some issues going on right now with trans people, as far as the fact that their court ruled that trans people have the same rights, and so they have the right to medical services as well. And now the House, Iowa House, not Iowa House, I'm sorry, Iowa Senate is trying to appeal that decision. Um, so, I mean, same stuff, different day. As far as that. That being said, uh, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things going on in the world and in the nation, and in my own life. I have a job being a crime victims advocate now at a local nonprofit. I was also working on a presidential campaign as the Iowa outreach director. So there's just a bunch of different things going on in my life. Not to mention the fact, and one of the biggest things is, even in Texas, I was, well, all the way around, I am openly trans. However, in Texas, I physically transitioned there, and so I had lived there for 14 years, and so there were people who watched the whole thing and went through the whole thing. Here in Des Moines, everyone does not know that I am trans, which is a different kind of feeling, I guess. It's not that I don't wear a banner that says, "Hey, I'm trans." I am not stealth because I really could care less who knows or who doesn't know. There's a couple of people who know, but for the most part, they do not. So that is an experience that I have never gone through at this stage in my life, um, and it's different. And I kind of, it's just a different kind of thing, because there's times when you're like, well, is this one of those times when I should openly talk about how I am trans? And then there's other times when it doesn't make a difference one way or the other, and nobody's asked, so there's just no reason to say anything. And because most of the people I work with haven't asked, very few people actually know that I am trans. I don't think anybody knew that I was trans on the presidential campaign. By the same token, I also went to an LGBT youth conference. It's a huge youth conference. It's the governor's conference that they hold here in Iowa, and like 2,000 LGBTQ youth from all across the state get the day off, basically, of school. It's a field trip, and they come to Des Moines, and they have speakers, and there are booths set up. And of the presidential candidates that were at the time, which I think at the time were 18 presidential candidates, 7 of them actually had booths there. So that was really, and just to see them kind of make stuff like this worthwhile, because it was more like, that was never the case for me when I was young. There was no possibility that I could have just been there and out and open with my friends. Or at least it didn't feel that way, and probably wasn't that way. And so seeing these kids, 14, 15, 16 to 18 years old. And some of them are LGBTQ, and some of them are just allies, and some of them are just like, hell, I don't care. It's a free day off of school. I'll go. All of those are different. I don't want to say are different levels of 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 the equality that eventually will will make us better as a nation and better as a people, and end issues of whether I tell or don't tell or blah blah blah. It will in our lives, because there won't be that fear, or it won't be that reprisal or that ignorance, when it comes to people. So anyway, that being said, at that event, I did wear my little buttons, and mine was "I'm trans," and still I don't even think they really got it. So that was interesting, but it hasn't changed who I am and how I talk about, and talking with people about being trans. I do at every available opportunity. I take the time to do that, but it is something that is new as far as an experience for me. A lot of trans guys I know don't live in the area where their families live and things like that, or where they originally physically transitioned, um, and so they don't, they always have that experience. And so for me, no, this is new for me. So either way, it's an interesting experience just moving here, um, and it's more, they're a more open society. And that's crazy to say because I would have never thought that moving to Iowa, but in Polk County in particular, which is where I live, um, their progressive attitude. Their governor is not, however, progressive. She's the one who signed the fetal heartbeat bill. Um, so, but enough of their government that was already set up before her coming into office is progressive enough that it's just a very progressive place to live. It doesn't mean it doesn't suffer from some of the same problems from race, LGBTQ, um, women's rights, but it does mean that they are far more progressive than Texas was. So that in itself is something that is new to us and is much appreciated about being here. I drive here. I don't know if anybody knew. I don't know if I ever talked about it, but I didn't drive in Texas. My wife, who at the time had no license, drove all over the place, and nobody ever stopped her. Nobody ever even bothered to look twice at her. Every time I was behind the wheel with a valid license, they found it necessary to pull me over for one reason or one fraction or another. So I eventually just stopped driving. And here I don't. That freedom is returned to me, um, because it's not that's not the most thing. That's not what is specific on a police officer's mind in this area. That doesn't mean that things don't change the minute you cross certain borders of town and go outside of Des Moines. But in Des Moines, it's more of a let's take care of each other city, which is a breath of fresh air, honestly, after being in Texas for so long. Um, so I am involved in politics here, which is awesome. I've seen most of the candidates. A lot of them, I do make a importance to talk about the LGBT community, as well as the people of color and low income. And so, actually, hopefully, starting soon, I will be ending my job, unfortunately, as a advocate, for crime victims, and beginning a new job that deals with just that. Um, and kind of changing the system from the inside as much as you can, as much as I can do. Um, let's see. Uh, any other changes? So social changes. We talked about social changes. We talked about physical changes. Um, I think social changes are actually the big thing, and the fact that here most people don't know me as the trans guy, but just as Pasha. And so I don't know, it's different. it's different socially for me. Um, like I said, it's kind of like navigating. It's like navigating myself through to and like it's never not telling. Um, it's just a matter of sometimes I inform them of something they didn't know about me, and sometimes I don't. Depends on how I'm feeling that day. Depends on if I feel like the circumstances warranted. But I have been able to uh, make contacts and make friends with people who do know I'm trans, and some people don't know I'm trans, which I always find funny. And then they feel like I'm just a very strong ally until I tell them that I am trans. And sometimes, and this is a big one, sometimes I don't tell people I'm trans simply because I have made a very valid point and in or a very valid presentation, and then they take it and they think about it when they think it is coming from a cis guy. And I feel like me divulging the fact that I'm trans would invalidate their thought process on that. So sometimes I do actually purposely do not say that I'm trans for that reason, and really only in that reason, um, because it's kind of like having talks with people about, which used to happen a lot because my profile picture wasn't up, and for some reason people would automatically assume that I was white. And when I've made a valid point that they're considering when they think that it's coming from a white American, I don't divulge the fact that I'm black, because then they feel like, oh, well, that's just because you're black. Well, no, if the point is valid regardless of my color, and then the point is valid regardless of my gender. So, um, let's see. Really, I'm gonna quit now because it's already long. But that's pretty much it for now. I'd like to say I'm gonna make another video soon. I'm going to try, but I've watched some of my videos, so I know I say that quite often and it doesn't come to pass. So for this, I'm just gonna say I love you. Question, comments, concern, you can hit me up. My Facebook page, Passion Morgan, Instagram, New Creation, or Twitter at New Creation 0215. All right, guys. Take care and take it easy. Peace. Love you.